Hey guys, this is Awesome Arcades. This video I'm going to be showing you our newest product. It is the 32-inch LED Storm. And so 32 inches is the measurement of any LED monitor diagonally. So that is the biggest monitor on any of the cabinets that we have. Now, we have two products that look very similar. One is called the Storm, that's this one. And you'll notice on the website there's another one called the Typhoon. The Typhoon and the Storm are almost identical. Aesthetically, they look a little different, but in terms of functionality, they play the same they play the same games. They're built from the same components. They have the same control panel where the joystick and the buttons go. They have the same monitor. They just look a little different. So if you're asking what the differences are, it really just comes down to your personal preference. Which one do you think looks better aesthetically? It's almost like if one was a Toyota Camry, the other one would be a Honda Accord, that kind of thing. And so one thing I'll point out is that the Storm is a little bit shorter than the Typhoon. The Typhoon is 74 inches on the base and the Storm is 72 inches. Now when I say on the base, you'll notice here there's a pedestal or platform that's been bolted to the bottom. That is an 11-inch rise that is not included. And so when you look on the website, you'll see that this machine is a seated machine. You would play it while sitting on like a folding chair or a stool. If you add the base, it raises it up to the height of our other stand-up cabinets. So the joystick and buttons sit 25 inches off the ground, which is the same height for our stand-up cabinets. And so I should point out that this machine does have the ability to fit through a standard household door. And so when it ships, this area, which is the control panel, is actually removed from the cabinet and mounted in some brackets that hold it close to the monitor. And so for that reason, the side profile of the cabinet collapses down to 25 inches. So it'll fit through any standard household door, which is actually usually about 30 inches. And so right now, one other thing I'll point out, this does light up, makes a pretty good glare. So I just unplugged it for the purposes of making this video, but that does light up. In addition, you'll see how the marquee there is lit up. And so right now I am running a 3188 Pandora. And so I've got a headlamp here. I'll just kind of show you. Comes off, and inside you see the game board sitting there. That's a 3188 Pandora board that I bought off of Amazon, and that is the stereo amplifier. Over here you see the coin door. So if we're to open up this guy inside, you just see the coin mechanism. Just so you know, if you ever wanted to add credits, there is a free play setting on that board. But if you want to leave it in coin operated mode, but you don't want to use coins, if you reach down in and tap that little switch right there, basically every time you drop a coin through the coin slot, as the coin goes through the coin mechanism, it depresses that spring and it drops out into the coin box down below and adds credits. That is a hardwired setup button. So some of the boards don't have a setup button, and so this will play any JAMMA board. It's JAMMA compatible. I recommend this one because I've found that it has the best game list out of any of the game boards that I've seen. But if you buy a board that doesn't have a setup button, that button is hardwired in, and then that is the on-off switch. That's the stereo amplifier. It's blinking. That's normal. It should be doing that. You've got volume, bass, treble, balance. That's the power supply. And so up here you see the 3188 board. The 3188 board is, in my opinion, one of the best boards in the industry. And what's cool about this board, so this machine is designed to play what are called horizontal or landscape games. So there's two different kinds of games in this world. Games that go side to side, games like Super Mario Brothers, Defender, Asteroids. That is what this machine is traditionally designed to be able to play. The other kinds of games in this world are called vertical games. Vertical games are games that move up and down on the screen. Games like Pac-Man, Donkey Kong, Frogger. So normally a machine can only play either side-scroll games or up and down games, and it has to do with how we install the monitor. So when you look at a Pac-Man machine, what you're looking at really is a computer monitor that's been taken from from landscape, the same way you watch TV at home, and it's been turned on its side. So when you walk up to a Pac-Man machine, you're actually looking at a sideways monitor. And so traditionally, if people said, hey, I want a machine that can play Pac-Man and Street Fighter, you couldn't do it. You'd have to buy two different machines because Street Fighter's played on a cabinet with a monitor this way, and Pac-Man is played on a monitor that way. Now, the 3188 board came out, and it's actually one of the first boards that is able to display classic vertical games from a landscape or horizontal screen. And so you come over here, when you turn it on, you see a menu screen. It says 3, let me turn off this headlamp from the top of my head here. And so you'll see a list of games, and then over here you'll see some of the options that you can do. One thing I'll point out is if you ever wanted to search for a title, and so, well, let me show you Pac-Man real quick so you can see what a vertical game looks like. So in order to enter a game, you find it on the game list. It's going to show you a preview of what that game looks like. And then down here on the buttons, you've got A, B, C, D, E, F. And so using your cursor, you find the game that you're interested in. And again, it'll show you previews of the different games. But let's say you want to see what Pac-Man looks like. To enter that game, you're going to press the A button. A button. Now, once you get into the game, then if you want to play, you're going to press the traditional start button. That's the 1 and 2 player start button. And so now you can see that what it will do is it'll take these classic vertical games and it will, they don't fill up the full screen. And the reason they don't do that is because they were originally meant to be displayed in a 4:3 aspect ratio. So rather than kind of, stretch the images out, what it will do is it'll frame them into a square. And so Pac-Man will kind of shift it off to the left. Miss Pac-Man, it'll be kind of in the center of the screen. But so you can see this allows you to play vertical games on what is otherwise a traditionally horizontal screen. And so in order to exit the game, you're going to press and hold the 1 player start button for about 2 seconds. And when you do that, a window will pop up. It'll say continue or exit. And so if you want to continue and go back into the game, you can do that. If you want to exit, move the joystick down to exit, and then you press the A button again. Now, if there's a title that you're not seeing on the game list and you want to search, come over here. It says number 1 will give you kind of different categories. I'll show you what that looks like. So it does lump the games together by different genres. So you've got fighting games, action games, shooting games, sports games. If you want to go back to the menu, you press the D button, which says that here. So once you're back at the main menu, if you want to do a search, you go down here and press the B button. Again, we've got A, B, C, so B. Doing that, we're going to enter the search menu, and let's say we wanted to find Super Mario Brothers, so we go to the M. And then to make your selection, I'm pressing the A button to do this. M-A, R, I. So we notice that we've got Mario over here. So if we want to bounce back from here over to here, we're going to press the D button. And that's going to take us back to the menu list. We see Mario down here. Press the A button to enter the game. And then once you're inside the game, you press start. So basically when you enter a game, the machine effectively becomes that game. And then once you're inside the game, if you want to choose 1 or 2 players, you would do it at that time. And so you don't choose 2 players from the menu screen. So again, to enter the game, you press the A button. And then once you're inside the game, 1 or 2 player start. When you want to leave the game, you press and hold the 1 player start button. And then exit out and press A. There's a lot of different settings that you can do. Now, in order to go into the setup mode on this board, 2 things I'll point out. One thing is there is a volume knob on the side of the board. And so sometimes I'll get the people that plug it in and they go, hey, there's no sound. I'm playing with the volume down here. Just remember there is a volume knob on there. And sometimes if you rub it with your finger on accident, it will turn it down. So make sure that is up and that is up. But on the board, there's a little button. See that little button there? That's the setup button. So with my finger on that, I'm going to press the button and show you what the screen looks like when you press that button. And so now you see we've gone into the setup screen. Once you're in the setup screen, there's a bunch of different things you can do. But if you wanted to create a favorites list, you come down here to game setting. And once you're on the game setting menu, you press A. And then once you're in there, you can increase the difficulty and number of lives per credit on a game. For example, on Donkey Kong, that's a really hard game for me and you only get 3 lives. And so I like to increase the number of lives that I get per credit. It allows me to kind of go deeper into the game. But the main thing that I like to do is go down here and create a favorites list. And then you don't have to scroll through all 3,188 games which are on this board. One thing I will point out though is if you press down and hold down on the joystick, it does rapid scroll. Also, if you press right, it'll scroll 1 page at a time. And if you press and hold right, it will rapid scroll one page at a time. And just so that you're aware, so obviously you can see Sonic the Hedgehog. This is my favorites list, but as you can see, it does have some really cool games. Now, there are other game boards that are compatible. As I mentioned, any horizontal JAMMA board, if you go on Amazon or eBay, there's a lot of different boards. I've found that this one is only $55 and it has almost every game that I've ever heard of. In addition to having a bunch of regular arcade games, it also has a lot of classic NES games, Nintendo games. It has Sega Genesis games, something called TurboGrafx 16, which was an 8-bit platform that came out in the 80s around the same time Sega did. As you can see, it's got Super Mario Brothers 1, 2, 3, Asteroids, Defender, Pac-Man, Q*bert, Pitfall, The Simpsons, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Zelda, which is one of my favorite games, one of the best games ever made in my opinion, Ghosts and Goblins, Metroid, Castlevania, Double Dragon, Street Fighter. It's got a bunch of really cool sports games like NBA Jam, NBA Hang Time, Mortal Kombat. Did I say that already? Mortal Kombat. Neo Geo Turf Masters Golf, one of my favorite golf games, you know, Space Invaders, and on and on and on. And so that is pretty much it. This is the 32-inch LED Storm, which is playing the 3188 Pandora JAMMA board. If you have any questions, let me know.